Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be talking about how to upload the files on the Django server using the REST API library. Actually, we can start off by installing the library. I'm assuming that you already have Django installed and Python. I'm actually using Django 3.1 and Python 3. Let's first install the library. I'm actually going to show you I have already installed the library, but let me show you how you can install the library using pip install Django. Django test. Actually, I've already installed the library, but just to show you how you can install on your own, you can do that. Let's go ahead and create the project. Okay, started. Say Django. Add a menu. Start project. This is demo project. Let's call it demo project. Our project is created, and let's create our app we are going to work with. If I can save that Python, let's first go into the folder, a project folder, that is demo project. Cd demo project. Then let's create our app. This is Python. Sorry. Then let's start our app. I can call it demo app. Then to start off, our app is created. Let's first configure everything. To start off, let's first configure everything. We need to first tell Django about the app we have created, and we need to install even the REST framework application. To do this, we need to go to in the settings folder. If I'm to go here, I'm to remove this. I don't need those. We go to install the apps. Then we need to tell Django about our app. So let's first do that. Our app is, the first thing is that it's the name of the app, then demo app. Then the next thing is the apps file, the name of this file. If you need to install the app, then you need to specify its location. Then you need to specify the configuration, app config. And let's not forget this. Then the next thing, we need to configure the URL we need to add. Sorry, I had forgot. We need to even add this. We need to add the REST framework application. We need to add the REST framework. We install it like this. We need to let Django know that we have an installed app called REST framework. Then the next thing that we're supposed to do is to configure our media URL and the root to the project folder. Then we are done with this file. The next thing here, we can need to specify the folder. If I'm to first create that folder, it's in our project root. If I'm to specify this folder, it's from here, and this is the media folder. You can call it any name, but let me call it media folder. If I'm to specify it, it's media URL. Is this correct? Sorry, this is not correct. Media URL. This is, we need to specify in brackets. sorry, this is media. Then the next thing we need to specify is the media route. The media route actually is the route to our project. It's the route to our project. So this will help us know the route to our project. So we need to join the path of our media of our project to the path of the media folder. So to do this, we need a library called OS. So if we import this right quick, then we specify here, then we join the path with OS done path, then don't join. Then we need the path to our project is actually provided in this file. It's this parent directory. It actually points to the path of our project. Then we need to join this with our folder so that it can help us access the files. It can help us access the subfolders, and our subfolder that we want to access is this media folder. We need to specify it in the second parameter. Then the next thing we need to do is specifying the URL patterns. The URL pattern, we need to include our app in the URL pattern so that our project, our index, our first page is pointed to our app. So in this app, we need to have the same file called URL patterns, similar to this one. So, and we can say that in the first page, we need to point to our app, and this we need to include it using this library. We need to include this. So we need to include it like this. You need to specify the name of the app that we need, the URL that has the URL that we are pointing at. Then it's and the file that contain the URL patterns. So in this case, it's URLs. Yes, it's URLs. Then the next thing that we need to do is to do the same thing in this file. So we need all of these. Sorry, I forgot to specify the comma right there. So we need to go right here, and we have the same thing, but we won't need include here, and we won't need this. So for this, we will only need the views, where we are going to have our API views. That from dot import, let's import views. The views actually are going to contain all our views that we are supposed to load from the URL. So let's first include our first URL, and this one is going to be our first URL pattern, and this is going to point to this. Let me know if we are in the right folder. Sorry, we are not in the right URLs. This is it. And this is supposed to be, let's call it upload. Sorry, let's call it upload, anything that you want. And this is going to be our first view. Actually, we don't need this. We don't need that. So this one is going to point to the view And if I'm to test if everything is working fine, we can create a demonstration view right here. If we can call this index, and we add a request, then we actually return something like an HTTP response, just for demonstration to see that if our server is working. If we try to return some HTML, but for the case of our API, we're going to be returning the JSON response, which is provided for in the REST API. So you don't need to worry about anything. Come to say hello. That's it. Come to say hello. And we're trying to echo this out on the screen. So we say views.index. Then the next parameter, if you try to specify the name, actually it's not required. We can say that this is the upload. You can call it anything. Upload. You can call it anything. So if you try to test this, so we try to start our server to check if everything is working fine. Our server is already started and it's saying we have unapplied migration, but don't worry about that. You're not going to use that. This is our URL. So if you're trying to paste that in Postman, and we specify the direction to our view, try run this. Try to print hello, which we specified in our view. So the next thing we're supposed to do, we need to tell Django. We need to tell Django the path to our media folder, to the folder containing our files. So this one, we cannot access the file directly from the URL if we don't specify this. So for this, we need to tell Django, we need to give Django functionality to access static files on this server. So to do that, we will need the library called static, which is in django.config.urls.static. So if we import that, we need to add these patterns to the media URL. We need to tell Django the URL and the root to our project. The URL of the files, the root to our files, and then the media root, which is the project root, this one, which contains our subdirectories. So we need to first import that library, and if it's from Django.config.urls, make sure that you have this .urls, then .static. Then we say import static. We need this library, and the next thing that we will need access to this, the URL and the root. So you need to make sure that you add this in your project URLs, not in your demo app. You need to add this in the project URLs file. So let's do that. Let's get the settings. So to access the settings, we access them from Django.config. Then we import the settings. Then the next thing that we need to do is to add these patterns. We add our media root to these URL patterns because we will need that to access our. So for this, we go again and add our static path. So the static path. The first parameter that it takes is the media URL. This is settings on media URL. Then the next parameter is the root to our project, which is the document root. If I'm not wrong, it's the document. Is it correct? We need to make sure that we have everything right. This is equals to settings don't media root. Then that's it. So the next thing that we need to do, we can get started with. Everything is set correct. We won't need this anymore. So we can go ahead and start. We start the coding. We start creating our view. For this, that the first thing that we will need is to import. We do a couple of imports, and our first import that we will need is the JSON response. As for the APIs, our response is supposed to be in a JSON. So we need to set this right from Django. From Django.http. Actually, this is in the HTTP library. We need to import the JSON response. Then the next thing that we will need is an API view, as this will help us to create our API. Actually, this is in the REST API. We are going to use this to create our API, as this one will not require a CSRF token for post. So let's first import that from REST framework. So we do from REST framework don't views. We need to import the API view. That's what we are going to do, to use API view. An API view. So let's start by creating our upload view. By extending the API view, we are going to extend this from the API view from the REST framework, as this is already a profile provided. So let's start doing that very quick. If I could define here a class, so we can call this upload. You can call this upload photo. You can call it anything. So this one extends the API view. So this API view class, actually this is the super class. So we create our own class which extends this super class. So, and in this class we can override some methods, and the first method is the get. It's the get method. But for our case, we are going to use the post method. So we won't use this, but we can actually override it. If we want, we can add a parse here, because we are not going to use this one. We are going to actually use the post method. So if we try to access this, and we add request. So we are going to concern ourselves with this one. Actually, we can test this out. We can test this out to see if everything is perfect. We can return here a response. we can return here a JSON response, and if I'm to add here a message that says hello, and then we specify the status. We can specify the status, but by default our status is 200. If you don't specify this, the default status is 200. But let me just specify it to show you how, guys, this whole thing works. Yeah, that's it. So let's first test this. Actually, we need to have here post not get. Actually, I have an error. Let's check this error where it says forbidden. Yes, sorry, we had not specified this. We had not specified this to the URL. So this one. So if we try to remove this and say don't upload views, then if we extend this API view, it converts our class to a view. It has a function that converts our class to a view. So you can do this by doing as you can do this as view, like this. That's it. So this one automatically converts our class to a view. So we won't require a CRF token like in the first request, because we are extending an API view. This one doesn't require a CRF token. So if we try to test this out, hey, we have more errors. What's going on? Let's first check. So let's use this for now. Let's use this. Actually, it thinks that it's a set. So let's go with this. So first off, if we want to access the files, we use the form data. So if we are uploading files, we need to have an index that is going to hold our files. So if I go in Postman, so we can do this. If we want to upload files, we can use form data. So we can specify here what the key that we're going to use while uploading our files. If you try to call this an image, then, and here we change, we say that this is the data, then we say this is a file, then that's it. Then we start off with checking if we want to access the file in the post request. We start by declare that files is equal, we can get it in the file request, then don't files. Actually, this one contains it's some kind of an map that contains our file. It's some kind of a dictionary that contains our file. So if I want to access that file by its key, I add it like this here. Then I can get its name, which is the file name. Sorry, if I'm to do this like this, then I can say that our file don't name if we want to get its name. So we can print this out. We can test this if it's actually working. We can test the file name. If we're getting the file name, if it's correct that we get, if I try to get here a file, a photo, and you try to check in the console, here is our file name. So let's start off by uploading the files. If you want to upload the files, so we have our destination directory. Trying to set our destination directory, I can say that the destination is equal, we specify our destination is equal to media, this folder, media. So the next thing we need to do is to open the destination and with everything. So what we need to do is to create our output path, the path containing our file. So what we need to do, if this is the output, which is equal, we need to add our destination to the file name. We can do this like this. Then we can add the destination to the file name. Yes, which is this one. Then the next thing, we need to open the file for read and write, which we can do this like this. So we need to say that the file, I can call this file fn. Let's call it, if you're trying to change something, let's call it like this. You can call it fn is equal to whatever you call your variable. Let me call it like that. We open, then our output will be like this. Then we open the file for read and write, for writing bytes. Then we take case that if someone is uploading a file that is very big, we need to write to this file. We need to write each chunk by chunk. We need to write chunk by chunk so that we can utilize the memory we have. So we need to write bytes to this file in the right manner so that we don't waste our memory. So we cannot write directly to the file like this. We write directly to the file like this. This is not good. We need to write chunk by chunk so that we don't waste the computer memory, as if you write the whole blob directly into the memory, someone can have a 5 GB file while the memory of the server is not even 5 GB of memory. So the whole file can not fit into the memory. So we need to write each chunk by chunk, we need to cut the file in buffers. We split the file so that we write each piece. We write it. I don't know how to explain this, but actually, if Java in Java, this one is so you can view this one is so open, but it's like you have a buffer and that buffer has a size. So that size specifies what the computer is supposed to write to a file, the size that is the computer is supposed to take to the size that is supposed to split the files in to support split the files and write it directly and write it to the file than writing it directly. Actually, it writes it piece by piece. If I'm to explain that in simple terms, yeah, you specify a certain chunk, then you write it directly. But for Python, this one, the chunk size, it's already automatic. It's already there. It's already the computer, the Python interpreter already it specifies the chunk according to the memory you have. Actually, if you don't have enough memory, it specifies the standard chunk that you're supposed to write to the file. So you can access this directly from the file. So you just have to write for a chunk in our file. Then don't chunks. The chunks. It's like it cuts the whole thing into pieces. That's why it calls it chunks. It writes it piece by piece in the file instead of writing the whole file at once. So it writes each piece on its own. So each piece that goes into the memory is actually read from the memory and written to the file than reading the whole file into the memory, which the memory is not even enough, and then it actually crashes the computer. So this one is not recommended. So the recommended way to write to a file is this one, so that even if you have a bigger file, you can write it directly you can write it directly to the server. So this one, you can write it to the server in chunks. So you can do that. Fn don't write. So if our file is open, so we write each chunk. So this one looks through all the chunks and it writes one by one into our file. So the next thing, it's a good practice that after writing the file, to close that file to prevent to write. Actually, this one actually writes everything, makes sure that the file, everything that we have on a network, it's written into the file. So it's a good practice to close after writing. So we need to tell the user that we have already uploaded the file. So what I'm supposed to do is to, after here, we can say that 100% string is uploaded to the server successfully, and we specify here the file name. the file name. Actually, this one tells that the file is already uploaded directly to the server. So if you're trying to restart this, and we go here and we try to upload our file, actually here it says that the file is uploaded successfully to our server. And if we go here now, media folder, here we have the file. So I think this tutorial is long enough about you can upload even other files. You can even re-upload. As you know, if you re-upload the same file, it overwrites. You can do some image verification. You can check if this is given. You can even generate a random name for your file. Whatever you do with this code actually is not, there is no rules for this. You can upload as many files as you want. You can even upload another file. Yeah, so guys, thank you for watching my tutorial. You can share this information with your friend. uh, you can, all the code will be in the description. Bye.